I missed you guys at Xerocon.
No, you
Oh.
did not. Don't lie to us.
Always
You
a
know
miss
you're
you.
lying.
Superstar billing on the stage.
I wasn't as superstar as some others whose faces were on the huge banners as you come in. That was nuts. But no, I did make it to a stage, and it was at the end of the second day. So there was like 3 people and a homeless guy there to hear me out. But no, it was good. I even went and got makeup done, John, because I am not pretty enough. I'm not pretty enough to be on the stage. That's why I'm in the podcast.
I reckon when you're up on stage, though, that big, bold, shiny head of yours needs a little bit of like dulling down, doesn't it?
It did.
Make out what's going on, otherwise it'll feel like some sort of like the reverse of an eclipse. I don't know what that is.
Just the glowing sun. That's probably what it is.
Hello and welcome to today's Digitals in Accrual World podcast. I am joined by my lovely hosts, John Toon and Ryan Pearcy, both of whom have been busy exploring and touring at various events for the period of the last few weeks. John is having been to Engage, the conference out in Vegas, and probably spent a little bit of a penny or two in the casino, which he can tell us a little bit about, whether he put it on black or red. And also we will cover a host of app news fresh off the bat from Xerocon, which if you didn't get the pleasure of attending, I'm sure you have caught some of the updates, but we'll delve into a little bit more of them on the pod shortly. But before we go any further, Ryan, you were at Xerocon. Tell us, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Indi. I won't tell you any spoilers about Xerocon, but I did get the chance to speak, and that was a big achievement for me. So, it was something that I was quite excited about, and really enjoyed having a chance to get up on stage. I was invited by Dext to speak to them about our journey at Scrumland using Xero and Dext, and it was a good experience. And then followed that by Father's Day, in which I emptied a loft.
Woo! Whoop, whoop. And you spent a grand total of how long in hair and makeup?
Well, I mean, in the area, it was a good 20 minutes, but actually doing the makeup 5 minutes. Hair, they just gave up, didn't even try. Unbelievable.
What I want to know is, like, what do they say about your lovely D'Artagnan moustache beard combo?
Well, admittedly, they just went mwah, because it was perfect, John. I didn't need to do anything with it. So I've obviously got the perfect combination of facial hair going on, or alternatively looked at him and just went, that is a disaster we could do nothing with.
Pass me a razor.
When we spoke to you last, you were over in the US. How was it Engage you were at? Engage.
It was Engage, yeah. Engage was good. It was, I would say there were lots of good bits about it and some really weird things about it that could definitely be improved. So, for example, like the good bits, community side, that was great to meet new people. Really well structured in advance as a speaker. Probably the best event that I've ever been to from a speaker point of view in terms of being organized and structured well in advance. The venue was Vegas, so that's completely bonkers and crazy and very much different from anything we've ever experienced in the various other places that we go to for events.
Did you manage to get the Digitals name spread out there? Get some Accrual World podcast downloaders stateside?
In the States? I think so. I definitely talked about it. And there was certainly a lot of interest. Ironically, there was quite a lot of competitor podcasts at Engage who I bumped into and had conversations with. So that was
nice way.
To...
And did they say to you, you are the most offensive man in accounting? Because you know that the North Americans are a bit more politically correct and maybe they're not as au fait with your, in inverted commas, banter.
I tried to, did my best. I mean, I did get the down low on some of the some of the beef that exists between some of the podcasts that are out there and some of the vendors in terms of telling some truths about whether or not vendors have genuinely got AI built into their product, or if it's just random teams of people in the Philippines and India doing stuff. That sounds incredibly familiar, doesn't it?
Well, we're back now. and we're ready for the summer. And thankfully, no more events for the foreseeable summer, right?
It may be Accountex North is the next one I attend.
And Accountex North. We've got a special little event, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for more information on that, which we'll be revealing over the course of the summer. But on to app news for now. Serious FOMO for Xerocon, a glam rock event, which everyone looks fantastic at. But aside from that, there were some other stats that were revealed in terms of the opportunity and what Xero are putting the focus on in terms of accountants making the move to advisory, leveraging opportunities with M&A and embracing digital adoption. And there were some announcements that we would have seen around the several ways to pay within Xero: digital wallets, credit cards, debit cards, bank transfers, buy now, pay later, and of course, tap to pay. There were some other stats that we thought were quite nifty. So there's more than 1,100 apps now in the Xero marketplace, with the average number of apps used within Xero for any given practice being 4, and the average number of years using apps within Xero as 5 years. 73% of practices using apps with Xero increased their revenue over the past 12 months, and 58% of practices using apps with Xero increased their profit over the past 12 months as well. Ryan, I know that you were obviously our main go-to correspondent on the day. How was it? Tell us more. What else do we need to know about?
There was possibly less than we were hoping for, considering their recent price increase. I think something was held back for Xerocon Nashville, so there may be a big announcement coming there. But what was announced is a lot of coming soon. They talked about Just Ask Xero. We know that they had to announce this earlier than Xerocon. I think they were forced to do that because of what Sage and Intuit announced. If you're using Xero Tax, you now will be able to do partnership tax starting with a beta in July. They are integrating Xero Practice Manager into tax. They talked about this coming, and they've now announced the beta is open for that. So if you're using Xero Practice Manager, it's worth exploring that. You've got some more information on client insights. We've talked about that on previous ones, but the big announcement was tap to pay on Android. So the ability to basically just hold your phone up and tap to pay between phones. Now, this is only available on Android, not through iPhone, and I believe it's being powered by Stripe. Building on that, there's more ways to pay through Xero. So through Stripe, you can pay via credit card, debit card, digital wallet, and additional a bank transfer and buy now, pay later options as well. And then final bits, they've got some enhancements to Xero Payroll. They really talked about, Digi really talked about the fact they're focusing on 3 areas now at Xero across all of their jurisdictions, which are the core finance ledger, payments, and payroll. So you're going to see a lot more functionality in these areas and a lot less focus in other areas where they're kind of going broader. They're going to rely on that app store. So you've got the payroll manager that's in place and will be integrated fully into Xero HQ, and they're going to be building out more payroll functionality over the coming months to, I guess, enhance how you handle leave management and build it further into the payroll manager as well.
Sounds like I missed out on a great series of updates and things like that. And that tap to pay release in particular, I think sounds really interesting, because I think if you're a tradie or something who's going out doing a boiler service or something, got Xero on your phone and being able to just take payment immediately, that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was something that got mixed receptions on the floor as I was going around talking to people. I think those that don't have those really micro businesses that, as tradies, right, they're going out and they just want to receive money quickly. They're like, well, it doesn't really feel like an enhancement. But for some accountants are like, oh, this is brilliant. This is going to really, redefine how our clients operate.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just all the iPhone users. They're just missing out because they not had the product developed for them first, like normally happens.
That's true.
Well, on the theme of Xero updates, I've got a few other updates that they've been releasing as well, which have come through from their blog. A lot of the work that Xero have been doing in the background to kind of rebuild their infrastructure around Xero has pretty much been completed. And I think this is going to be a sign of a trigger for a series of new, quickly released feature updates and things that we'll start to see over coming months. Yeah, just to go back to the ones that they've more recently done, they've now got the ability within HubDoc in the mobile app for HubDoc to upload multiple receipts at once. So you can now upload up to 10 documents at once to HubDoc rather than having to sort of process them one at a time and then go through the whole the whole upload process individually. And then there is a whole bunch of other things, but one of the ones that you've got the ability to do now for the UK version is you can now opt in for a Xero e-invoicing subscription. So you can now receive your Xero invoices direct into your own Xero through e-invoicing. So you're not having to download the PDF and then upload it through whatever OCR software that you might have in place.
So moving away from Xero for a moment, there was another announcement that was made by Intuit this week, who are looking to acquire ZenDrive. ZenDrive is a piece of technology that was rolled into Intuit's product Credit Karma, where it was a usage-based auto insurance product called Karma Drive. To date, Karma Drive has enrolled more than 6 million members into the program so that it can offer those drivers a better insurance price compared to what they would get in the market. It seems like a lot of the employees may be rolling on to stay. It's a technology-led acquisition with certain employees such as the CEO and the CTO who will also join Credit Karma to accelerate the adoption of it. Looking at ZenDrive itself, it's obviously been a direct-to-business offer that has partnered with lots of different types of fleets. So I do just think they might be a really good synergy for Credit Karma, who I think is its biggest client.
Yeah, they've done some brilliant work in, I guess, expanding what Credit Karma can do by bringing in ZenDrive. And I believe it's about 130 million subscribers, I think, in this area, so including the UK. So, a lot of the stuff that Intuit does is only in the US, and this does affect the UK. And we have another announcement by Intuit that also affects the UK. So Intuit are releasing AI-powered revenue intelligence inside MailChimp. Now, there's lots of areas that this covers, but this will affect the UK as well. So essentially what they're doing is those normal AI tools that we're experiencing in many other products, they're building into MailChimp. The big thing, though, is they're going to be leveraging the financial data from Quickbooks. So any MailChimp customers that also run their finances in Quickbooks will be able to pull the information in to trigger and push forward what they're doing in MailChimp. Now, this is something that they talked about Intuit Assist doing initially. It's a key focus of theirs, and that's now what's being built out in revenue intelligence. You also, inside the MailChimp system, will be able to experience AI directly inside that, including the generation of branded content that looks at your tone, your brand style, imagery, and also the logo you use to kind of create some branding, some information when you're doing your content creation. You've got revenue predictions based on segmentation. So the splitting of information inside the MailChimp system will be able to then predict where your revenue is likely to go based on historic trends and what you're trying to do. And then looking at repeat purchases, etc., what you're doing to predict how, I guess, to show marketers where and when to send emails or text messages, what's the best time to get traction based on how you've been working historically. And then another key release for the UK market is the SMS tool that has been over in the US for a while. I've been trying it in the US for a while, but SMS functionality is now going to be fully rolled out in the UK, embedded into the AI tool. So yeah, it looks really interesting from what they're doing here and building out. A lot has been going on with the AI side inside Intuit.
Whilst they've been chucking a lot of AI stuff into MailChimp, QuickBooks have released within the QuickBooks payment subscription the ability to send an invoice to your customer via text message. Oh yeah. So the new functionality that they've just launched is pretty much a similar process to follow that you would if you're just sending stuff to customers via email. So you go through the normal process of creating an invoice, check all the everything's correct, and as you go through the review and send process, towards the end of that process, you literally choose the option to add a text message, put your customer's mobile number in, and then send the invoice, and they will get an abbreviated message that comes through on text message with a hyperlink through to the invoice so they can go and view it and see it. And your customers can also unsubscribe from those messages.
Do you think that Intuit have just discovered text messaging? Because they've released it in MailChimp and now they've released it in Quickbooks. It's like someone received a text message and went, this is amazing. Let's build this into our tool.
And seeing as we're talking about the big four, Sage for Accountants has released some new features for better control and communication in its new quotes and estimates feature. So you can add reasons to it if something doesn't convert, or that you don't win a piece of business, or you can add notes to it. There's also some changes to the budgeting module in Sage Accounting Plus, which enables users to create, manage, update, import budgets, and run detailed budget reports. If you want to go beyond the sort of numbers, then you can check out Futurely, which has always been a popular choice for the three-way forecasting, and they've made some enhancements on that. They've also changed some things in Go Proposal so that you can accept multiple signatories, and you can get some additional notifications for failed invoices if something is not processed in the right way. And there's also been some changes made to client management. They've completed the trio of the subscription transfer paid options in accounting and payroll to facilitate client to accountant, accountant to client, and accountant to accountant. So that's a whole host of little changes that have been made across the board in Sage this month.
Sure, lots of things evolving. And I guess closing out the big four, I've got something from FreeAgent. They've been developing their mobile app. So things that you could do inside the web browser, you can now do inside the mobile app. And this is all regarding taking payments. So payments are, as we, I guess, see from what Xero have been doing, a key focus of these systems. So you've got the ability to connect FreeAgent to your Stripe account for taking payment through there. You can also connect a default payment provider for all of your invoices, be that Till, Stripe, GoCardless, or PayPal. You can set up direct debit mandates with GoCardless, and also choose when to collect that money once you've connected it in. You can use the in-app Take Payment Now button for GoCardless payments when you're sending out invoices, and also preview your invoices on the mobile app, as well as adding the online payment link, which is slightly separate than the embedded element for your PDFs for Stripe, PayPal, Till, or NatWest. So lots of things being released, and that's worked on both the App Store and Google Play Store. So payments is the buzz area at the moment.
Indeed, it is. Indeed. But of course, we can't forget the real buzzword, which is AI. And moving back to AI, Syft Analytics have just launched their Syft Assist AI, which has been built into their platform to help you summarize the data that you bring in from various products. You can ask it questions. You can both ask questions by voice and by text, effectively by typing, which is quite cool. You can also get it to and then interpret that data, so put it into some of the reporting that you might be doing, whether it's management accounts or forecasting, and also get it to summarize some of the data, so you can include not just your images but also narratives. So it looks really cool from like the quick video that I've seen. We're a Syft user, so I will be jumping into the product in the next few weeks to try that out. And yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how much value our team get from this. And I'd be really interested to know what kind of technology they're leveraging, because it feels and looks a little bit like the data analytics GPT that you can get in ChatGPT. But it seems to do so much more as well with the voice. So they're definitely leveraging a few interesting technologies there.
Accounts IQ has taken $65 million investment to boost bookkeeping with AI as well. So it is a buzzword for sure this week. Latest development means that Accounts IQ, who to date have only raised around 12.7 million euros, currently got 1,000 customers. It covers 10,000 entities and 20,000 users. It looks like they've retained some steady compound annual growth, 30% annually for the last several years. And they offer a range of obviously different digital accounting services that we know of, the accounts receivable, payable services, banking, budgeting, forecasting, etc., and the tax services and reporting. It's quite a big announcement actually for this mid-market space, because I guess we've seen the growth of Xero and well, certainly Xero, Sage, Intuit, etc., taking on the small side. And then that mid-market has been incredibly squeezed for the last few years, but it's nothing to be snuffed at, because obviously Accounts IQ has built what is like a defensible position with these businesses for the last several years, and really they bootstrapped it. So it's very unusual to see something of this figure raised after such a long period of time. And I remember a few years back, Accounts IQ was absolutely smashing it in that mid-market space. So very pleased to see it, and it looks like they're spending a lot more time shoring up their position into how they can, I guess, deliver more automation around the stuff that they're already doing in that bookkeeping. And there's quite a few there's a huge opportunity for them in product development when it comes to furnishing it with more AI.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw this this announcement coming and this investment. Because do we know when their Series B was, Indi?
I wouldn't know for sure when that was, but if you compare it to like Penny Lane, which was another accounting startup that we spoke about earlier this year on the podcast, they raised $40 million at a valuation of over $1 billion. And they had around 120,000 users, or they now have around 120,000 users. But when we covered Penny Lane, it was across around 1,000 accounting firms as well. So it wasn't a huge amount, and super interesting to see. Obviously, the Accounts IQ are kind of taking advantage of the fact that they already have a rich source of data. They've got a very sticky customer base. They've grown very well over the last few years, and they are still well poised to defend their position against some of the other accounting softwares that exist in that mid-market space.
It looks like they raised Series A/B in 2021.
Wow, so it's a good long time, isn't it, between those two series? I mean, it's I think it's great news, because you've got three decent products in this mid sort of tier ERP space, and we know that Accounts IQ has spent a considerable amount of time and effort on rebuilding some of their platform and sort of changing some of the UI and UX as well, making it a little bit more appealing. So I'm sure they've got grand plans for this for next phase of using that investment, maybe a little bit more marketing budget, maybe a little bit more product development.
I think part of it is also they've not really been properly challenged for a number of years, and you've got Implicit now coming through and pushing them, right? And so they know they need to push it hard. They need equity backing to do that. So they've taken on quite a noticeably large investment to push it hard.
I suspect we'll see Xledger bounce back a little bit as well, just to keep the challenge real.
Yeah, it's good. It breeds competition, and it breeds development, breeds innovation. So we should see a lot of exciting things coming out of this mid-market space. Anyway, look, we talked about Xerocon, and we talked about the announcement that Xero made at Xerocon, but I think there was a bigger one at Xerocon, not from Xero, and that was from ApprovalMax, because they waited until Xerocon to announce two huge releases, be that ApprovalMax Capture and ApprovalMax Pay. So they are now doing end-to-end, not just an approval tool. They are doing the capture of invoices, the approval of invoices, through to the payment of them. Now, ApprovalMax Capture is fully released, whereas ApprovalMax Pay is in beta. So I think they've made that announcement, even though they're working out some of the little bugs or some of the little challenges from the pay side. But essentially, the capture tool will be able to extract information via uploading of PDFs or photos, or snapping them on a phone, and it will extract that way. And it will auto-populate a number of the bill or invoice fields to be pushed through to Xero, all going through the approval side. So where they were connecting into Dext, which I believe is still going to be there, you will be able to extract the information directly through the ApprovalMax app going forward. From ApprovalMax Pay, you'll be able to pay bills securely using a existing bank account, so no wallets. So you're relying entirely on that open banking engine. But I guess the big benefit is you can use the very intricate approval workflows inside ApprovalMax for approving all of those bill payments. And that's something that I guess we've wanted and it's been lacking in some of these payment tools. ApprovalMax enables that. So the pay engine will be interesting. I have a feeling both the capture and pay will not be in anywhere near as depth as some of the others in the marketplace, but it's the approval area that is, it's bread and butter, the thing it stands above, head and shoulders above the rest. And so it'll be its differentiator. If you've got simple invoice capture, and you've got simple payment needs, but you've got a complex approval structure, then yeah, this is one to explore.
I mean, I think you're right, Ryan. I think this is the biggest announcement out of Xerocon in terms of like product development. I mean, this is ApprovalMax taking it back to HubDoc, Dext, all the other third parties that they connect with, and also taking it to some of the newer incumbents in our market who are offering this kind of end-to-end AP solution. So yeah, I mean, blimey, who saw that coming? Because I always thought they were just going to continue to focus in on approvals and iterate that product. So yeah, cracking, amazing times for them. It's going to be very, very fun to watch how they play that out and what kind of impact there is, if any, from some of the incumbents. Whether we know that Dext are looking at growing out some of their approval processes a little bit. Obviously, they've toyed with pay in the past. Auto entry, I'm sure we'll maybe be looking to do the same as well potentially. So happy days.
Yeah, I think that what's going to make this live or die is going to be how they price it. If they put on a huge premium, where people could already use Dext, which is probably going to be more advanced, I think they're going to struggle. If it's a small premium, because I assume there's going to be a premium for these, then I think it'll make a difference. They may bundle it in, they've got tiers of software. They may bundle it inside that. I've not got clarity on this yet. I would be excited to see where it leads.
Yeah, and talking about one of those competitive forces, Stephen Edgington, who is the CPO or CPTO at Dext, he announced about a week ago that they've been working on enhancing receipt banks. They've been working on enhancing Dext's fetch feature. And one of the big problems with a lot of people who've been using fetch with Dext and with other products is that multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication properly makes this product very difficult to implement, because what happens is it's trying to log into, say, I don't know, your PayPal account or your Amazon account or something overnight, normally at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you're in bed. And then you get a notification saying, oh, please enter this code, which expires in 15 minutes. And then, of course, you end up with this sort of endless cycle of not being able to access the account. Now, this has been known that they've been working on this for a while because they've known that fetch is kind of a bit of a broken feature. And they've now announced a collaboration with Amazon Business to be one of the first suppliers connected into the Dext platform so that you can now collect your invoices. So I've got a couple of quick updates from Silverfin, which we haven't covered for a while. In the last couple of weeks, they have announced support for FRS105 for LLPs. So that's now available in their accounts production module, which is a great little move there. So I guess keeping up with some of the functionality that we see in some other cloud accounting products as well. And then they've also announced some updates to their company's house data sync. So again, for anyone who's not familiar with Silverfin, when you add a company, you can connect that direct through to company's house, so you don't have to type in the name, various other bits and pieces that will go into the system, directors, for example. And they're starting to pull through the due date for the next set of accounts, so you can see that on your dashboard. And they're also then looking to extend the range of data that's synced from company's house with a view to enhancing more of the features they have in there. Quite what that means and what that looks like, not very clear at the moment, but I think it's really interesting because, as a slight aside here, we're just about to roll out Carbon within our practice, and Carbon has a company's house data sync. Our practice management system has a company's house data sync. We've got Inform Direct, which has a company's house data sync. Obviously, we're now getting company's house, syncs into lots of products, and now, creating, quite an incredible amount of like overlap in various places where we can find, year-end data, deadline data, those kind of things. And I wonder if at some point firms need to kind of like figure out, where do you keep that data, or where is it most relevant for managing deadlines?
Yeah, well, I think the whole company's house thing, getting information overload, hopefully it all aligns, otherwise we've got problems, haven't we? I have something that I came across that I thought would be good to wrap up this week's app news, and that was a post from Tony Stevenson, that guy from FreeAgent that talks on our pod now and again. So he's been talking about the bundling and unbundling of, I guess, features inside apps, and that we go through waves of this happening. And we've talked about this on the pod before. And I guess as we've talked about what's happened with ApprovalMax and them essentially finding different elements and bundling it together in their app, we've got others in this space that are doing the same. So Mimo, we've talked about as I guess one of the interesting apps that came out of Digital Accounting Show, have accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash flow, and invoice factoring built in. Client Engager, that practice management app that seems to be everywhere at the moment, has obviously the traditional practice management elements, but also pricing, e-signatures, and engagement procedures all built in. Apron has been kind of moving into that accounts OCR data capture element, building upon the accounts payable element they had before. Syft Analytics, which we talked about already, has the cash flow financial reporting, but also that data health element that came through Dext Precision as well. And then you've got Dext that are moving, they've got the Dext Precision element, the Dext Prepare, and also Dext Commerce. So we're seeing a lot more bundling of different tools. We've got Translucent that put themselves out as a super app that are going to be handling anything that is consolidation. So I think we've shifted now. We've been going through a phase of unbundling. You've got 1,100 apps that are in the Xero ecosystem. I think we're going to start seeing that come down, where lots consolidate into apps, and we start to see some just fade away over time.
It's an interesting viewpoint. I still think there is lots more scope for more apps in the Xero ecosystem, on the Quickbooks ecosystem, the Sage ecosystem, etc., etc. Who am I to disagree with Tony, right? I mean, he's probably got way more experience and knowledge on this than others. But I still go back to the fact that if you kind of look at CRM ecosystems, you're looking at products which have products like HubSpot and others who've got in excess of like 3,000 or 4,000 integrations, and you just think that with the complexity of CRM in comparison to the complexity of accounting, there's so much more applicability, I think, in the accounting space. But we'll see. I'm sure there will be more consolidation. I think that's inevitable if we see successful apps coming through. But I think there's plenty of opportunities for other things to be built and added to the products, particularly whilst firms like ours, for example, Ryan, are still crying out for like proper, decent cloud accounts production, tax systems, and things like that, which fully capable of dealing with all of the complexities and needs that we have. Let alone when you get into other things like other taxes, overseas trading, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I guess to build on what I was saying, I'm expecting accounting practices, businesses that maybe have 6 or 7 apps to consolidate down maybe to 4 or 5. So through that, we'll start to see apps leave the marketplace because they just don't have the revenue, or they sell out or merge in. And maybe, John, maybe we need to make a wager on this. Maybe we need to get off the fence and pick a line. So maybe in the next episode we'll come up and decide how much. We'll put it out to the market. How much should we bet? And for everyone out there, we don't have much money, so don't play a high figure.
Well, we'll bet a guest slot on the pod. That's what I'll do.
Or maybe we should bet. They used to do it. You shave your head. That sounds like something that's completely fair for both of us.
Yeah. I'll shave my head and you can grow some hair. There you go.
Man, I'm trying.
I know. I'll shave my head and you can have it. There you go.
Oh no! I'll just stick it on.
We'll make a wig. We'll make you a wig.
Oh, I'm not sure I want this anymore. We are lucky enough to be joined by Kevin Fitzgerald from Employment Hero, who, if I get the role right, is the Managing Director of the UK, formerly of Asia, and in his past roles, also head of Asia from Xero. And we've got him on today to talk a little bit about Employment Hero, one of our sponsors, and also to get some clarity on some of the, recent news that kind of came out indirectly for Employment Hero, mostly around, their interaction with accountants. So it'd be good to understand from your side, how that interaction, how you've been working with accountants has changed over the last 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, and I will take the opportunity to tell people, listeners, that I am an accountant for a very long time. I actually started practicing in '99 and worked as an accountant for 12 years across Ireland and the UK before moving into tech. But it's a good question, Ryan, and it's ultimately it comes down to communication, and we reflected on, I guess, the news that was on social media talking about our plans, and we're like, well, that's not actually our plan. So where did we get it wrong? Because communication has got to be looked at from the source and the clarity of it, and it clearly didn't land correctly. So we've got to own that stuff, and I was pretty quick to jump online and engage in a couple of conversations on LinkedIn to discuss and explain, because that's just the simplest thing to do.
So just to, I guess, put some context around this, like for some of our listeners, in case they don't know, is that, Employment Hero from, I guess, Australasia area, acquired KeyPay managed bureau solution, well used over in the UK, and from that acquisition, we're still supporting both from a payroll bureau perspective and from a HR perspective. And then I guess from what was coming out in social media, probably somewhere around start of 2024, it was appearing that Employment Hero are basically not going to continue with the payroll bureau side from a UK perspective. But my understanding is, one, timing is different on that side. It'd be good to get some clarity from you, Kevin, and just clarify exactly what that means for those that are using an Employment Hero for their clients, and those that wanted to.
Yeah, there's two cohorts. So the first cohort of people that could be an accounting firm or a payroll bureau who are using the payroll technology and the bureau technology, as it's more commonly referred to serve clients. There is no change to that. Like, we're not shutting it down, or we're not like removing investment, or we've no intention to sunset or anything like that. We actually know it's a great product, and it forms part of our combined offering, which is payroll and HR. So it's incredibly important to us. So there is absolutely no change to that. And I think that's where some of the fear came from, and the miscommunication was that may get shut down, or we don't care about it anymore. When in reality, we'd only acquired that business 2.5 years ago. It's an incredibly powerful piece of technology. We got really positive feedback on it. And I think when I was speaking to someone recently, said it was probably the best payroll bureau tool in the UK, but it was the worst marketed.
That might have been me, Kevin, to be fair. That might have been me that said that.
It could have been. I was listening to you clearly. So like no change to it. What we looked at was, should we continue to offer it to new partners in the market, and that was globally. So this was not a decision made out of Australia. This was like a decision made by everybody running the regions and involved in the regions, and we decided not to continue to offer it directly to new partners who wanted to sign up. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the majority of our customers, either partners or SMEs that sign up directly, sign up to payroll and HR together. And the combination of actually having the employee record file, system of record in one place, serving two systems, by combining them together, you get like a much more powerful offering and much more benefits. The second is, we have to make some choices with our strategy, and like all of us that run businesses or parts of businesses, sometimes they're the hardest choices, but if you don't make them, you end up, try to please everybody, and you end up kind of stuck, and it's the downfall of many a great strategy. And in reality, we looked at the payroll market globally, and it's a challenge to just offer payroll on its own. It's in the UK specifically, you guys would probably know this better than me. There's free payroll software that does the job. There's very good payroll software that's incredibly cheap. And we've got to look at where we want our future to be, and it's very much around combined payroll and HR offerings on one platform. And we refer to that as employment unlimited, with everything that somebody can get to run their business, both from a compliance payroll perspective, a legal HR perspective, but an advisory perspective on both. And to be really frank, like getting into a fight at the lowest end of the market, I don't think that's a solid strategy for any business. Yeah.
And just for clarity, when was that decision made, timing wise?
So that decision was made first week of November last year, and we started to communicate it over the next couple of months. But again, I don't think we did a great job with that clarity of communication. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that is true. I think, even from my side, I don't think it was really until, as I said, early 2024, but it's good to have that full clarity now. I would say definitely from my side, it's a frustrating one, because I think, as you say, those that are trying to do something new, do that HR payroll service, Employment Hero is probably the perfect tool for it. If you just want to do a payroll bureau, there's a lot cheaper solutions out there. So, I'm going to keep banging on the door and hoping you guys open it again for those firms that want to do both. But no, it's good to get some final clarity on that. So thanks, Kevin, for coming on and answering our questions.
No problem at all. Thank you.
I want to hear about the beef between the podcasts. This is golden. This is
Yeah.
The brisket, the slow, low and slow brisket. That's what it was.
I really get a scene from Cool Runnings in my head, that one day all of us people in the podcast are going to be together in the same bar, and when they're in they're like all what, there's going to be that all what moment.
I think if we were going to start some sort of podcast related bar fight, we should go to Xerocon in Nashville, because that seems like an ideal place to do.
I will be the one who carries the egg.
I think technically as a woman, you probably do carry the egg.
Thank you, John, for your astute observations as always.
As promised, we're back with part 2 of Celso's story of starting, building and exiting from Pixie. In part 1, we talked about Celso and Pixie's origin stories and really threw back the curtain on what it takes to create and grow a piece of accounting software. So if you missed that, please be sure to go back and check out that episode. But for now, back to Celso on the future of accounting tech, dealing with investors, and what's next for him. You did the seed round in 2021, I think you said. Yeah. What changed in the business as a consequence of going from bootstrapped and investing, I guess, your own money or maybe friends and family money to suddenly having investors, and how does that change the complexion of the business? And does that sort of start to keep you up at night, worrying about runway and cash flow and God knows what else?
Yeah, in a way. For us, I guess it's particular in a way because I've been through that journey in a sense, so I kind of knew what was behind the door. So when we made the call to go, look, are we absolutely sure that this is the box that we want to open? Because once you do, that's it. Like once you get into the train of venture, that's it. Like it's very, very hard to kind of go to your investors now and say, oh, I'm going to buy you out for like one-time revenue or whatever. Like, what? That doesn't match anyone's expectations. So again, from that point of view, like we more or less knew what we were going to get into. I would say that we got like really good investors. Everyone's like everyone really understood what are we trying to achieve, what market are we trying to sell to, which is really, really important as well. Yeah. And what are the things that make Pixie special? So no one really tried to kind of like change a lot of those things. I would say that if anything, maybe the ambition just became greater, but not in a bad way, not in the sense of, chasing ghosts and things that aren't really there. As so much happened over the past, well, not 2 years now, because 23 was pretty hard for everyone. But let's say 22, when it's like peak crazy in terms of venture, we never really got into that. We were always pretty down to earth. But then it's great to have investors who go like, hey, there's this peak here, but if you really squint at like that thing there, you can also see the next peak. Would that be interesting for you guys? And challenging us from that point of view was pretty neat. So yeah, like it obviously changes things. The expectations change, but I think we walked into it with eyes wide open, knowing exactly what was behind that door. So, if anything, I just want to again thank the investors for all the support they gave us.
Yeah, and then I guess coming into the market, you suddenly had Client Engager with Johan Gori becoming a little bit more heavily involved in that. That's suddenly became a bit bigger on the scene, right? And that's was that a sort of a competitive force that you maybe hadn't anticipated, because they seem to have a very similar pitch to you guys in terms of simplicity and building community and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Look, where to start? So I guess kind of like the first thing is not particularly like we've dealt with much stronger competitors, and they didn't really break us. So those guys coming out, I mean, I kind of knew Johan from his ventures with Carbon and whatnot. Can't remember the other fellow's name right now, unfortunately.
Andy Wainwright, isn't it?
Yeah, Andy. Yeah. I think like he was, well, at least very early trying to like kick the tires around Pixie and whatnot as well. So I appreciate that. Look, again, I have no problem with that. I'd prefer it if people weren't as toxic. But it's fine at the end of the day. Like from our point of view, competitors will come and go all the time, and we'll always have folks who come in at the bottom of the pyramid, kind of like feed off that and try to build up the business. Totally respectable. I think there are principles to do that. We always try to respect our competition, so those guys aren't that different. And yeah, like I would just say that where I potentially just disagree is on the simplicity side of things. Again, it looks from the outside something that is throw the kitchen sink at people and let them figure out. Give them a community so that they can self-support and stuff like that. That's not our game. You see what I mean? So from us, it's really just trying to really understand what the needs are, and then trying to combine that into something that's a bit more coherent, and offer that solution to the market.
I know that you guys are very early into the ChatGPT stuff and the large language model stuff that suddenly came last year, and then obviously that was crazy. And you guys were quite early doors in terms of bringing that in. Amazing. And I know you've done a lot of work yourself in terms of exploring the opportunities there. But was that a healthy thing, or was that a bit of a distraction? Because I think the rumor mill started probably in maybe the summer of last year that Pixie was starting to run out of cash and maybe run out of a little bit of steam in terms of needing support, I guess, to go to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you were to look to our P&L, you'd see us in the black. So I don't know what people are talking about. Clearly, there are rumors on there.
It's the rumor mill, Celso. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, here we go from the horse's mouth. But still, I'd say that I still like one of the things that confuse me the most right now, especially coming this industry or profession, as some prefer to call it, is the antibodies that people have to AI. They're very, very quick to dismiss it as this is a fad, this is a toy, it's not accurate enough, it's never going to replace me. I would really, really challenge that perception. And interestingly enough, not even an hour ago, I was talking to a couple of folks who left Pixie, and we were chatting about, you decide whether you want to kind of like edit this one out, okay? Because this freaks out a lot of people. If you ask me if like of all the roles on an accounting firm, so like you have the partners, the tax accountants, and then you have bookkeepers and payroll managers and all of that. Are all of those jobs going to continue existing in 10 years? I seriously doubt it.
No.
Okay.
No
very,
chance.
very honestly. And it's not because of everything else algorithms that kind of like reconciling accounts and this and that, some of the stuff that we did behind the scenes with Pixie and AutoGPT and all of that stuff, my instinct tells me that there's a very clear pot, big pot at the end of the rainbow. If you're able to train an LLM to do the job of, let's say, a bookkeeper. Don't tell me that it's complicated. Everything is complicated in this world, okay? But I'm a very serious believer that that is possible, and it's worth 100 billion a year. There's a ton of money flowing into AI from Silicon Valley. I would be very, very surprised if there isn't, let's say, a plucky startup somewhere thinking like I do, and they're like, oh, so that means that if we make it 10 times cheaper, we can own the market for 10 billion. And yes, you're going to spend like 2-3 years training these LLMs to actually, be 100% accurate, or as accurate as an outsourcing firm in India. And then, there's that pot at the end of the rainbow, and just displace all these people to do something else.
I mean, I guess you've got products you're already in the market, right? Celso, like Genesis and Briefcase coming into the market.
I would not do compliance though. I would not touch compliance.
Would you not? That's interesting. What would you touch? Because I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, I think a lot of compliance that we do, particularly things like tax advice, for example, it's very much a gated process. It's a binary thing. It's like how much do you earn? Are you over a threshold? Yes or no? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a company car, or do you want a company car, for example? It's not. It's complex in its breadth, but it's not complex in its pathways that you could potentially follow. And all of the information's out there in the public domain. It's just a matter of being able to access it, analyze 100%. It, and then serve it up in a timely manner. And that's where tax experts in particular are particularly good, because their breadth of experience means that they can serve this information up very, very, very quickly. But I do agree with you. I mean, I think I think it's not beyond the wit of firms or a Brenda out there to build a chatbot that can serve up quite a lot of fairly standard compliance, and even take that one step further, in terms of not just providing advice, but actually being able to provide advice and then do a tax return, for example, and almost going back to how you started out in your sort of your world in the accounting space.
Yeah. And so the reason why I personally would avoid it is because of the liability of getting things wrong. So like as a tech company, fintech is like super binary. I've changed banks, like these fintech banks, and I've changed them like I changed t-shirts almost. Why? Because they failed with something, and they failed with something. That's it. That's one shot you get. So it's the same with compliance, right? Would you stay with an accounting firm if they messed up your annual accounts and I get like a fine from HMRC? No, that's it. Like that's final. So with the company taking on compliance, like for example, Genesis, I think they're really brave from that point of view. It's kind of like if they crack the nut, props to them. I wouldn't be as brave, I'll tell you that much, because ultimately, if they get it wrong, the business owner, are going to sue them right away because they got it wrong. Like, don't come to me with your, yada terms of service, this and that and the other, which like, okay, then we go to court and let's see how that pans out. So there's still value in having that tax professional to do the final check and sign off on something, because that person is taking on the liability of saying, you know what, I attest that this is correct, and if it isn't, then you can complain to me, and obviously there's insurance and all of that stuff to then take care of that. So that's why I wouldn't touch anything compliance. Set aside the fact that it's very specific to every region and all of that, and scaling that is quite an adventure. But again, LLMs surely would make that a tiny bit easier. Bookkeeping, however, you have to trust my word. But I mean, actually, I forget that I'm talking to a subject matter expert here. But bookkeeping here, bookkeeping in Australia, bookkeeping in Portugal, it's all the same. It's all the same. So
I guess the
there are a
only
few things that
nuance
are
is
constrained.
around maybe something like VAT, GST, those kind of things.
Yeah,
But
correct.
like you say, where do you post a telephone invoice? Well, it's fairly straightforward, right? Where do you post the sales invoices? Those kind of things.
That is so interesting. The example I was giving earlier to the guys were this example that struck with me, like from my simple tax days, because I was arguing with an accountant. Picture that. That yes, it's possible to do this, yada yada. And then he gave the example of some carpenter or something that they had as clients, and then they came up with this thing for silk gloves, and that really just struck me. It's been like years now, and I'm like, okay, that to me is like almost like the ultimate test of an LLM, just seeing would they be good enough for this kind of stuff. So off you go to ChatGPT and you feed it like the standard stuff, like here's my chart of accounts on a CSV file. The business does XYZ, woodworking workshop, and I have this expense for silk gloves. Is this allowable? And if so, where? Bam, PP. Okay, that's great. I run a software shop, so now let's test the negative case, right? Exactly the same thing. Where would I put this? This is not allowed. That's all you need, mate. Like quite literally. And this is a generic tool, right? It's not even like specially trained for this kind of stuff. So yeah, again, I wouldn't be as quick to dismiss as a lot of the crowds is to say, this is just a gimmick and nothing's going to change. And Excel was going to change everything. And this is a bit of a different beast, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, you can't diss Excel. Come on, Celso. This is like our favorite.
I love
tool,
Excel.
right?
Same here. Like no fault. Like give me anything with data, go straight to Excel, and then we start from there.
Absolutely.
So I'm on the same boat here. But it's. I think we have very interesting times coming forward, and on this topic of AI displacing jobs and whatnot, I really wouldn't put my eyes on where ChatGPT or what ChatGPT can and cannot do. I would really think of it from the perspective of the incentives, which is there an incentive for a group of 5-10 people, spend 2-3 years, spend 50 million, like whatever it takes, training an LLM to then come up and try to replace this particular job? And what would be their outcome? I think there is.
Yeah.
And it's pattern matching. So I would, again, I think it's going to be interesting times. That's the bottom line. Maybe you want to cut all of this stuff off.
No, it's okay.
People just go like, ah.
I think you've got to continue this debate and this discussion around where do we feel? The early days of the whole ChatGPT or large language model debate was, we're all doomed and we're all going to be replaced by robots, and then it sort of wound back and said, oh no, actually they're a bit naff and they can't really do what we're saying. When we talk about it internally with our firm, for example, in our team, is like the only limitation you've got when it comes to this kind of technology is the limitation of your imagination in terms of like what can you possibly think of to be able to solve a problem with this. Anyway, let's switch this debate back to you, back to Pixie and everything.
Oh
else.
Man, I love the future. I would love to stay there actually.
We'll come back to it in a second, but obviously let's pivot back into sort of 2024 and as I started at the beginning, you've now exited Pixie. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
What happened was just late spring last year, and I won't go into a lot of detail, okay? But round numbers here. I just turned to some of our investors in the board and told them, look, I can get this to this stage. I'm good from like 0 to 1 million. 1 to 10. This is not my journey anymore. So I think that it would be better to try and bring someone else into the business to do that. I'm absolutely exhausted, and I'll be very honest with you. I just don't have any joy anymore. And the reason being, look, it's a complicated thing when platforms shift, right? So I'm old enough to be, I remember desktop development and how that went when the web came through. I got in on the web side of things, but still had to deal with some of that desktop. And if you have an inkling of vision to understand where things can go, it becomes very demotivating very quickly, where you go, oh, this is, the boat is on this track here, and this is where it needs, the train is on this track, this is where it needs to go to. There's still plenty of leeway. It can still, crush the market and everything. But me personally, my interests are here. My energy is there. That's the thing that brings me joy, not this. So yeah, that was really the bigger challenge there. Unfortunately, we weren't able to kind of like get to a good place with that replacement. So that didn't honestly leave a lot of options on the table for us in terms of what to do next with the business.
Yeah, and I mean, did you sort of contemplate maybe bringing in a CEO or a COO and stuff like so that you just allow you to step back a little bit, or was it just like, actually no, I need to exit, and that's kind of it?
Yeah, look, for me, it's never about the financial thing. Okay, I would always tell this to the team, and quite a few times people would ask me, coming in into Pixie, why am I doing Pixie? And this is going to piss off a few of my investors if they ever listen to this. But I will not do it for the money. Okay. It's just not in my nature. Like, I have no kids. I have no legacy to leave behind. Like, there isn't anyone who's going to be like living off my inheritance or something like. So the money to me doesn't really make too much of an appeal. The impact, however, is quite good. So being able to say, kind of change things, and we built this product, built this team, built this company, etc. That's the thing that kind of like I find a bit more motivating. So when we say exit, it's again not from the point of view of going, oh, I want to make like a couple million or something like that. It's really, that is never part of my equation. I know saying this to an audience of accountants, everyone's going to be like, what? What's this guy talking about? Especially some of our competitors, wink.
Yeah.
Which it's very clear that they're building to flip. But yeah, from our side, it never was the motivating factor. So we did try to bring new leadership, very hard. And I'll tell you two things. We were at that stage where we were far off enough in terms of revenue and organization, so that it's no longer appealing to very entrepreneurial CEOs, unless they really want to kind of like dabble in this space, which is a cross section of very small audience already. And we were way too early for a professional CEO. No, at least the good ones. Obviously, you can always get like crap ones for cheap. But yeah, again, it's one of those things. Like, even as a shareholder, and I think about that, I did want the maximum outcome, but yeah, it's really, really hard to find the right person, especially at the junction that we're in.
Yeah, but I think that's something, that's a lesson to be learned for other people in this business who are creating businesses, that there has to become a point where you do have to hand it on to someone else if you want to take it to the next stage. Because and you see this not just in accounting technology, but in all sorts of technologies, that it's very rare that a founder can take it from 0 to 10 million, like you say, or maybe 100 million, or whatever that number is. It's extremely unusual, and more often than not, it's sort of the founders have that passion and the desire and the interest to do those crazy long hours and everything else for a relatively short amount of time, and then you've got to just take a back seat almost, and get someone else in to take some of the pressure off, because you can't spread yourself so thinly, particularly with a growing business. You can spread yourself thinly with a business that flatlines and goes nowhere, but if it's growing and doing exciting things, you've got to bring in other people, haven't you? And,
I agree. I totally agree.
You see that with other firms where sorry, not other firms, but other businesses, other vendors that don't do that, don't invest in a marketing person, a sales person, a customer service person, whatever it is, CEO, whatever.
Yeah, it's very arrogant. I think that's like really arrogant thinking, in terms of thinking, oh, I got this, or I pay myself a dividend, so that's good enough. Well, that's great. What happens if you get hit by a bus? You see where I'm going with this? So it's not unfair. It's like uber unfair to pretty much everyone else. Like if they have, even if it's like a minuscule crew, what's going to happen if they suddenly, go away? And the same thing with customers, all of a sudden, then what? So, and again, just coming up, interestingly enough, I was listening to you and I'm like, here it's quite normal. Like in the US, it's a bit more normal for the founders to stay longer through a longer journey, if you will. And I think that also has to do with the talent density a lot. That's a separate conversation for sure, but let's be honest about these things. If you go to Silicon Valley, like you're immersed in, I don't know how many million people will live and breathe technology day in and day out. So it's not too hard to kind of like scale the teams and finding these people and whatnot. Here it's a bit more challenging for a million reasons. Let's say that Brexit certainly didn't help. But yeah.
What does the future hold for you, Celso? I mean, are you going to, like I said, sort of get your pipe and slippers out and just take a bit of a break for a time, and then you'll come back with something new and shiny and exciting for us to take a look at?
10 years is a long time to be immersed in a specific sector, like a really long time. So there's some, exhaustion from that. So being able to kind of like take a break is going to be important for me. Like I said, look, there's this very interesting development around agent AIs that I think could change the game in a number of ways. So I'm trying to wrap my head around doing software for whom, right? Are they going to survive this? Or if this happens, are they going to survive it? Like that's what I'm trying to do right now, is really just taking a step back, trying to see what's going on in the world, see where we land this year with evolutions in terms of, obviously, everyone's talking about GPT-5 and all of that. Yes. Where is that going to land? Where are all of these agent AI platforms going to land? So I really want to kind of like be free in a way to see and explore that space further. So I can't really say, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be a new tool for this sector. As of now, I'd say like 99% chance that not. But, I'm super grateful. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have an amazing life. And I really, really appreciate the experience that I've gained over the past 10 years. But at some point, you have to bow out and go like, okay, great, the play is over. So curtains down. See you next time. So I just have to figure out whether that's the case or whether there's still something interesting here.
Well, I mean, that sounds great. And I think that's almost like the perfect place to end there.
I think it's always interesting to kind of like just revisit some of the history and be able to talk to you about some of the stuff as well.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well, thank you very much, Celso, and great to speak to you. And I wish you well in the in accounting dominance with a large language model in the not too distant future. So that's what I'll expect.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. Have a great evening.
That brings us to the close of another episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed the updates, and if you've got any feedback or comments you'd like to share with us, you know how to get in touch. If you haven't already done so, please join us and subscribe to the podcast. Also join us in our network, Digital Disruptors, where you can connect more with systems advisors, find out more about our training certification that we're running in conjunction with App Advisory Plus, so that we can ensure that there's a standard set for the tech stack and systems advisory and automation just going forward for the accounting space, the best in practice. And then you get to know and understand a little bit more around the different apps that you can take advantage of in the marketplace today. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.